This is NDTV. And you're watching NDTV Hindu.
Good evening and welcome to the news tonight. I'm Natasha Swami. Joining me on the bulletin is Dr. G. Uma Devi, Associate Professor from the Anna University Division of Transportation Engineering, to give us an insight into road safety and the possible reasons behind the various high casualty road accidents that Tamil Nadu has been playing witness to. And also joining us for our big story tonight, Peer Mohammed, who has been tracking, of course, the Satish Kumar murder case as the law student's father speaks exclusively to NDTV Hindu. We'll be bringing you all that and more on the bulletin, but first, a look at the headlines. Protesting lawyers get what they want. Madras High Court orders a CBI probe into the death of the law student and son of an advocate.
Miserably failed to investigate the crime. Who is the offender? Nothing has been done.
Flash news on the oil companies. NDTV Hindu discovers that fuel adulteration lowers the flashpoint, thus more likely to inflame during accidents.
Is the lower the flashpoint, the easier it is for to ignite.
A day after Rajnikant praises Amma's victory, he turns the politically correct leaf, consoles Karunanidhi today, says that he's been through tough times. Still no consensus on uniform syllabus. Children continue to learn on activity basis. Tons of water available now, however, only the sewage-infested kind flowing through pipelines for some Arepuram residents.
என்னோட மிஸ்ஸஸ் வந்து ஒரு 4 டேஸா ஒன்றும் இல்லை, சும்மா அந்த வாஷ் பண்ணினதுக்கே 4 டேஸா வந்து வாமிட்டிங் அண்ட் டிசென்ட்ரி.
RBI hikes the key lending rates. What does that mean for your monthly EMI? Will it burn a hole in your pocket? Friday movie buffs, brace yourselves tomorrow to be entertainment galore with Avan Evan and Shah Rukh Khan's Kabhi Kabhi. Well, those were the top headlines from the state. A look at the national headlines now. The death of Swami Nigaramananda brings into focus the illegal mining around the Ganga that he was protesting against. Students brace for the Delhi University admissions today. This after SRCC announced 100% cut-off for BCom honours. Infosys founder Narayan Murthy says the UPA's handling of the Lokpal bill has been sad given the stature of its leaders. They could have done better job. An Indian Navy warship will escort MV Suez to safe shores. 6 Indians on board had earlier complained that the Navy wasn't helping. A setback to the Mumbai journalist murder probe. All 3 suspects arrested for Jaydev's murder are let off as there was no evidence. The story of a group of girls from Bihar who have made it big in sports and forced their male-dominated community to take notice. And it's the final ODI in the West Indies today. It may also be the last chance for some of the teams, India's new faces, to cement their place. Over to our big story tonight. NDTV Hindu is the first channel now to get the reactions from the father of the deceased Satish Kumar, who was allegedly murdered by police officials. Now, this battle for justice continues for advocate Sankara Subbu, the father of Satish Kumar, whose death is now being investigated by the CBI after the Madras High Court today directed the CBI to probe into this murder case. The judgment given by the Madras High Court says that while the autopsy report establishes cut injuries in the throat of the deceased and several other external injuries, the top police officials had maintained that there was no external injuries in the body of Satish Kumar. The judgment mentioned that the top police officials were found telling the media something contrary to what was found later in the post-mortem, which made this case fit to be transferred to the CBI. We now bring you the father of Satish Kumar, advocate Sankara Subbu, who spoke exclusively to NDTV Hindu about the various paths that he had taken in order to know exactly what happened to his son.
And then they did not do any effective investigation. I only requested him to collect the tower details, the cell phone number. My son has got a cell phone and he was traveling in a motorcycle. So the through the cell phone locate the area. But they only find out the tower, and thereafter there is no effective investigation. And my efforts are, I am not satisfied with the investigation. Then our friends and colleagues moved to the High Court on 10/6. 10/6 moved the writ of habeas corpus. In the writ of habeas corpus, the High Court has passed an interim order to search the pond with the help of the firemen and form a team and other things and do the needful. But Saturday and Sunday, though they searched it, no effective search has been made. But only on Monday, the private channel Makkal TV reporter only with the effective search in the area found out that the body was thrown on the pond. That they will not do justice to the victim. So they thought it fit to refer the matter to the CBI on two grounds. Mainly that is the police officers are involved. And so far that past 7 or 8 days, there was the local police has miserably failed to investigate the crime. Who is the offender? Nothing has been done. So that is, we have no faith in the local police. That is number one. Number two, even after retrieving the body, there was external injuries. That was not, but local police said there was no external injuries. So that created a suspicion that they likely to screen the real offenders. So considering all these aspects, in order to grant fair justice to the victim, so the High Court is pleased to order CBI investigation.
Now, while the CBI will probe the murder of the law student Satish Kumar, this was after the victim's father, Advocate Sankara Subbu, filed a petition to get the case transferred to the CBI, alleging the police's hand in the murder. Remember, the body of Satish was found in the ICF North Lake area, and a post-mortem in the case was conducted for 3 hours on Wednesday. Now moving on, the sudden spurt of accidents on our roads has once again fueled debate on the quality of our petroleum products. We at NDTV Hindu today bring you a study that shows almost all the various forms of fuel available in the Indian market are adulterated in some way or the other. Our reporter Bertilla brings you this special story. 21 precious lives were lost in the tragic bus accident in Vellore not many days ago. And I have here in Chennai with me a group of activists with a fresh perspective. They say the Vellore accident could have happened because of a low flash point of the diesel used. Simply put, a low flash point increases the risk of fire many times compared to a high flash point value. In India, a flash point, which is the minimum temperature required for ignition, is 35 degrees Celsius. In the West, the standard is 55 degrees Celsius.
When the demand for naphtha came down during 1968, the flash point was brought down to 55. Another reason was there was also an increase in the demand for diesel. So to increase the diesel production, also they brought down to 55. Then in 1985, surprisingly, it was brought down to 32, which was even less than the flash point of kerosene. The flash point of diesel is being revised depending on the market conditions and the demand for the diesel and profitability.
Experts say adulteration of diesel is a parallel business in India.
Adulteration of transport fuel does not just lead to economic losses, but also gives rise to serious issues like increased emissions polluting the environment and reportedly deteriorates the performance of automobiles using them. So experts point out that the government needs to take cue and look into this matter seriously and act swiftly.
We want the standard for the flash point increased to 60 plus, 65, 66. Court in our country takes a long time, and this is why this case is thing, and we intend to call for an urgent hearing. I hope the courts will oblige.
While activism may propel the government to focus on adulteration, many say consumers too should be more aware of what goes into their vehicles. With camera person Arun and reporter Bertla, Natasha for NDTV Hindu. Well, speaking of accidents, Namakkal has now become a highway of tragedy. 11 people died and several are injured in a van-truck collision on Wednesday. A maxi cab carrying 25 people who were returning from a funeral in Namakkal collided head-on with a lorry 20 kilometers away from the area. The lorry is said to have switched lanes and collided with the van. 8 women and 3 men lost their lives in the accident that saw 13 passengers seriously injured. The bodies are presently at the Namakkal Government Hospital and the injured are undergoing treatment at the Salem Government Hospital as well. And joining us live on the bulletin in our studios is Dr. G. Uma Devi, Associate Professor, Division of Transportation Engineering, Anna University. Thanks so much for joining us, ma'am. Really, at this point, could giving of course, the fact that we have so many accidents happening in the state of Tamil Nadu, break it down for us, the causes to which that could possibly be leading to these particular accidents. Is it vehicle engineering going wrong? Do tell us.
Yeah. As mainly we can, 3-4 factors could be attributed for this road accidents. First is the human factors. Under the human factors, we can have mainly the speed violations, speed, and also the overtaking maneuvers of the drivers, misjudgment in the overtaking maneuvers of the drivers, and also lastly maybe the drunken driving. That is another important factors. Coming down to the road factors, under the road factors, skidding is a very major factor. Apart from the skidding, the other road conditions is another important one under the road factors. Coming down to the vehicle factors, mainly the tire bursting and the brake effect, the brake failures and all the major factors. And lastly, the environmental factors also matters a lot. But among the four, the human factors, it attributes to more than 95% when compared to all the other factors. You can just imagine it is going to be 95% reminding us, 2 to 3% hardly, and the environment is hardly 1% or 2%. But again, another thing we have to take care of is under the human factors, how we collect the data. The real cost for the human factors, whether it is above the 95 is also a moot question. So that also we have to matters a lot. It matters a lot. So these 4 factors are major cause for any accidents.
All right, now that we know the causes, we have established that.
Yeah.
Moving on, of course, is there any way of going through prevention better than cure at this point? What are the preventive measures that should be reinstated?
Yeah, usually all the 4 causes, we always tell the D, deficiency in the human beings, deficiency in the vehicles, and deteriorations on the roads, and deteriorations in the environment. The other thing is E, we call 4 E's is the solutions for this. One is the education. First is the very foremost thing is the education. Next is the engineering measures, and then the enforcement. If enforcement matters a lot as far as our country is concerned. So if very strict and regiment enforcement is a must, particularly the wearing of the helmets and other thing and all. It's very important. We always call the human being as a social animal on the roads, unless otherwise we control. It's very difficult to streamline them on the road. So that's why the enforcement matters a lot as far as our country is concerned. If you take the abroad and other countries and all, they enforce much. Enforcement is a main thing. I think we can tell it's one of the eyes as far as the measures is concerned, preventive measures is concerned. And lastly, of course, the emergency vehicles. And nowadays the emergency vehicles are really, it's good, we can appreciate that. So that also matters a lot to prevent the measures, the accidents.
All right, going on to a bigger perspective, of course, the adulteration of fuel. Yeah. How much could that possibly affect now that we have itself actually got our own information of the fact that considering that the fuel is being adulterated, there are, of course, flash points really that will be lower flash points, of course, for fuel at this point. Do you think that could definitely spark a certain incident really with vehicle accidents?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I observed Mr. Desikan's, one of our stakeholders. He always used to come in, interact with us in any seminars. He also very rightly pointed it's another big threat that we have to take care of, and with more cautions we have to view that also.
All right, speaking of Mr. Desigan, of course, he joins us live on the bulletin right now. Mr. Desigan, of course, is the trustee for Consumer Association of India. Now, Mr. Desigan, how long has your fight for human rights against fuel adulteration been going on?
I have been fighting this from 1987, and we became more involved and started doing a lot of disciplining and research and all that from 1997.
All right, Mr. Desigan, really fuel, especially diesel, while traveling from the producer to the consumer, is presented with ample opportunity to undergo adulteration. How do we monitor this entire process?
Adulteration is something that is not likely to be controlled unless the government takes a major policy decision of reducing or removing the price differential between the diesel and the kerosene and the petrol. This is the only country where diesel has been boosted up quite a bit, whereas all over the world lorries and huge trucks are driven on petrol itself. Neither their mileage nor their effectiveness is in any way reduced. I don't know why diesel has been opted as a better fuel than petrol in this country. but this is something that is not necessary. The adulteration doesn't, it doesn't happen to 3 or 4 hands. What happens is the refinery pumps the product. It can be kerosene, it can be diesel, it can be petrol at prefixed times and prefixed things to the depot of the oil companies. Oil marketing companies receive them in various tanks and distribute them through tankers directly to the petrol pump. When it reaches the petrol pump, individuals like you and me and others take the petrol or diesel if you have a diesel car.
All right,
That's the end of it.
Desigan,
The adulteration takes place.
Moving on from that point, of course, to road safety. Now, how do we increase consumer awareness in general? Seeing that consumers are unaware of the right questions to ask in order to obtain the information they really need, they are also unaware of the threats posed by this contamination.
The Indian consumer, I would say, is a very apathetic, irresponsible consumer. He must know when somebody is cheating him, and he must take action to stop it. Instead of that, whatever price is there we pay, whatever happens, doesn't matter. That attitude, apathetic attitude should change. It should come from the responsible behavior of the consumer. Whatever enforcement, whatever law is there is not going to help. The consumer has to be less apathetic, more responsible, and behave in a responsible manner.
All right, Mr. Desigan, thanks so much for joining us and giving us your perspective on this particular issue that seems to be cropping up, of course, of adulteration of fuel and how it leads to accidents at this point. All right, coming back to Ms. Uma Devi right now, really, you had listed out various causes for the particular vehicle accidents that we've been witnessing in Tamil Nadu. But most of the time it happens in the middle of the night. Now, do we have enough provisions for enough light really for the drivers to sort of find their way through these roads?
Yeah, that's correct. But mainly the lighting system is another important one. The lighting, but from the rural highways and all, we cannot provide throughout maybe from Chennai to Trichy complete lighting. Only the headlight distance we may have to take care of that. So that should be taken care of as wherever the important crucial locations are there, vulnerable locations, we have to provide some lightings that may prevent the accidents, road accidents mainly.
All right, we certainly hope that these measures are taken care of course, by the government of Tamil Nadu. And also, yes, you wanted to make one more point on another issue?
Yeah, mainly I can tell the two main factors we can mainly to prevent the accidents. One is the education, and next is the enforcement. So education in the sense all the training and the awareness of all the stakeholders, mainly the drivers and all the road users, maybe the transportation officials, personals, highway personals, and almost all the stakeholders we may have to take complete training, and the awareness we may have to give. The next one is the enforcement. A very strict and regimented enforcement is a main tool to reduce or prevent the accidents. That only I want to tell. And mainly I can tell the speed, always we tell speed thrills, but it kills. So that should be educated to the drivers. No, mainly the drivers are the human factors. They mainly cause the accidents. So that should be taught to them, and so as to prevent the accidents.
All right, as you clearly stated there, it's 95% of the time that it's a human tendency to make mistakes.
And also
really,
Sarah has already mentioned,
the
behavioral aspects. So very correctly he pointed out the attitudinal, the behavioral aspects of the consumers and also the road users. It's very important. I always used to tell my students that is if the major threat in the medical side is A. So only if you are not having any resistance, that may occur. But as far as road accidents concerned, from beggar to the president or the first man of the country, once they are away from the home and on the road, the threat is there. So that we may have to take care. And
all right, so the important points really are the fact that the drivers really need to be educated, and the behavioral patterns really need to be monitored and also corrected really for these accidents to be minimized and reduced in the state of Tamil Nadu. Of course, well, we are slipping into a short break on the bulletin, but coming up on the other side, a fire breaks out at Sri Perambuttur. 3 injured in this incident. We bring you all the latest details in just a bit.